Hey everyone, this is Elias from RefMatch Media, and today we're going to be test driving the 2021 Dodge Charger Hellcat Redeye Widebody. Whew. Yeah, that took me a couple of takes to get. Really long name, just as long as the width of this car as well. Well, we're going to do things a little bit different, so let's get started. We come to the front and we could definitely tell this is a special Charger. It's not one of your typical ones. A couple of things. We have the nice big SRT with the Hellcat logo right on there. That's going to be the giveaway of there's a lot going under the hood. Now, when we take a look at that hood, we have your intake here to, keep your temperatures nice and low to drop them, as well as we have these vents. They are functional. There's actually nice warm air coming out because it's actually really bad conditions today. You can probably see little snow flurries, but that's what we have here. We have a nice big heated vent, which is actually keeping my phone warm so it doesn't get too cold, but it's also keeping my hands warm. So they are functional. And I do remember seeing it in the Charger Hellcat, in the Challenger Hellcat, where when it was really hot and you got it going, this thing, you would see the heat coming from here. So it's a nice sculptured hood. I love that. And again, the lights were great. They did the job. They're frozen right now, but they really did the job. And one thing I would say is just be aware of that bottom lip. It is a little on the low side, so entering and leaving places, you want to be careful with that. But yeah, overall, this thing is mean looking. But what's even meaner is what's under the hood. Let's check it out. We get under the hood, and yeah, this is my favorite part about this. So under here we have the 6.2 liter V8 Supercharged, massive supercharger, cranking out 797 horsepower. Insane for something out of a factory, not modified. Well, I mean, Dodge modified it, or SRT did, but to see this much power is insane. This is going back to the horsepower wars, muscle wars essentially, but this thing is insane. The sound of this is incredible. That supercharger whine, now we weren't able to, because of the conditions, we weren't able to get it whining too much, but it definitely, when we did, it just sounds so good. It's incredible. The power delivery is always there. It's just, yeah, maybe a little too much. There definitely were some scary moments where you just accelerate a little bit, and this has the automatic transmission where it can get pretty darn, tail happy. So you definitely have to be careful with that, because with a lot of power comes a lot of responsibility, and not being tempted to, go over the limit, because you will easily go over the limit, not just the speed limit, but the traction limit. But yeah, overall, having this in here is insane, and I love it. I love it. Couple of things as well. Again, we have the front middle scoop will route the air over here, and then nice into this big air filter in here. That again is feeding into the massive supercharger. It's cramped in here, so it's definitely probably where you're having to pull out a lot of stuff to get to stuff. This has it's like a special air chiller, where if you're running it really hot, it can cool down I believe it's a supercharger. Yes, you can chill it, and it's just incredible. A lot of technology. That's a crazy thing. When you're talking muscle cars, you're typically just thinking of brute force, brute power, and this does have it, but it does it in a modern way. Again, the sound to this is addicting. Just behave. Learn how to behave, and you should be fine. But yeah, definitely a nice little engine that could. Well guys, let's take a look at the massive wheel and tire package we have in this. We come down here to the wheel and tire package and we have big. Everything is just big about this car, even its name. So we have the 20x11 SRT wheels here in black. They just look incredible. They are wrapped in the 305/35 Pirelli tires, and I believe this says yeah, the P0s, but they say all season. That's a big stretch. So these are not very all season. These are all season in Florida, in Miami, where I used to live, because, and I don't think I fault the tires. So let me correct that. The tires were good. It's just the insane amount of power this thing has that's very difficult for a tire to really grip. And again, I'm in extremely cold weather right now. We're 20 degrees and we're probably gonna go down to 5 degrees, if not lower. But this is not what you wanna use for this kind of weather. And it was a little scary to drive this in a little bit of icier rain. So it was probably about 30 degrees and it was raining. But the rear gets really tail happy. Again, it's just summer car. Leave this in the garage when it rains. But we have that. And again, we have the black painted Brembo. There's different options for the color. I do like black on brake calipers. A lot of times that looks nice and clean. If the wheel weren't black, I think they kind of get lost in this. The orange, I think, is an option for this, and I probably would have gone for that. That would have definitely made it stand out. Now, if the wheel were silver, then definitely the black caliper would look nice. The brakes, massive, huge, and they fill the wheel. They fill the wheel and they definitely get this big guy stopped because it's not a small car. So it's definitely a great brake package. No fade. Didn't feel any fade, but again, I didn't push it as much because obviously in the conditions we're on, we didn't have to do so. Yes, this is the wide body. So I know, but it definitely sets it apart, and it makes it grabs people's attention. It really does. We kept getting looks everywhere on the highway. People were stopping next to us or slowing down next to us or catching up. They love this. It's just wide. I can't have a Charger or a Challenger that's not a wide body because it looks like it's been skipping leg day. So if you can, definitely opt out for this because it definitely is a better look to the Charger and the Challenger line. But yeah, overall, again, I wish we had better conditions to test this in, but it looks beautiful. The brakes work great. Tires are a little, it's just a lot for any tire, I think, to handle this. Well, let's take a look at the side and see what we have. So we get to the side and we can see this is a really long sedan. And it stands really mean. A couple of things, we have those big 20-inch wheels, again, both in the front and the back, squared setup, which is nice, especially when you're wanting to rotate them and that kind of stuff. There's no added expense because they're already expensive to begin with. But the other thing we get are the wide body. Yes, I know it's fender flares, but the track is in fact wider. And they did have to use those fenders in order to get that wider track. So yes, internet, I know I'm gonna hear it, but this is labeled as a wide body. Yes, it has over fender flares, but it does it in a very clean way. I don't see rivets like you do in aftermarket ones, which I hate, but it definitely is a clean design to it. And my favorite, you have the Hellcat, but there's a little added touch. It does have a red eye on it, which is a nice little touch. And again, we have just our 4 doors, very spacious to get, very easy to get into the back, very easy to get in the front. And we have the nice little spoiler in the back that adds just a nice little touch to it. Well, let's take a look at what we have in the back. Now we take a look at the back, and again, my favorite thing, this guy. So what's crazy about this is they gave us the red key. 797 horsepower unlocked with the red key. So again, this is definitely a really cool thing, and definitely want to show off the key, but it's got a lot more than just being a key. So if you take a look at the buttons on there, you can see that there is a good amount of things. We'll get to them soon. We have your typical unlock, lock. We also have your trunk button, so you press it twice, and this is a spring-loaded trunk, which is nice, especially now when you're wanting to do curbside and contactless pickup. Just pop the trunk and you're good to go there. The other thing is the auto start. This thing was a lifesaver, especially right now that I am freezing, but it was great. We take a look at the back though, and it's definitely a nice design. I love the Charger's rear. We have the SRT badging down here, so you are aware of what you're dealing with when you come up to this. So we press it twice and we open up the trunk, and again, it's spring loaded. Let me tell you, this thing has space for days. You could fit 5 people inside very comfortably, and you can have storage for, you know, their luggage for 6 people in here easily. So there's definitely a ton of space in here. Makes this a great road trip car when the weather's right, but also gas mileage, be aware of that. But it definitely is a lot of space back here. This is one of the things I really love about this car. It's functional. It actually works. You can actually use it because you have the space. Well, let's go ahead and close this off. We will lock it. Now, typically we go out for a drive, and we will. Typically I record this segment after I do my drive, and I am recording it after I do my drive. We had kind of a scary situation. It is icy out there. I only was able to drive it for a little bit safely, and I didn't feel comfortable with it being out there, especially with being this expensive car, 88,000 or so, and it not being my car. So it is a short review, but I can tell you this thing is a lot of fun in the dry. Well, it's time to go for a drive. You can never get too bored of that. That thing is just, let me tell you, right now, this thing is heating up like crazy inside. It's heating up my seats, it's heating up my steering wheel. This thing is incredible. This is my favorite part about this car. And it has that beep to warn you that, oh, you know, you activated it. You don't need that beep. You can actually turn it off. And you don't need that because this thing is just so loud. It is so loud, and from my apartment, you could press it twice and this thing will roar. Yeah, it is loud. Well, let's go ahead and hop in for a quick ride. Safe, you know, that I already did, but yeah, check it out. We're gonna do it again. That just sounds so good. Now we go for a drive, and okay, typically guys, I have this nice scenic road that I like to film my cars, but because the conditions are super icy, and when you have, I mean, you still got to do a review, but I'm being safe. When you have almost 800 horsepower and almost 800 pound-feet of torque, it can be a little scary. So we're gonna just drive actually. So again, like I mentioned, typically I record my driving first and then the stand-in, but right now we're just gonna drive to the stand-in area for the beginning of the video, because again, it's just, it's pretty scary in this car. And but let's get started. So when we come inside into the Charger Hellcat, this thing is awesome. You know, we've test driven the 392 Hemi powered Charger, and that was fun. That was a lot of fun. This is downright scary. Almost, yeah, almost very like, yeah, summer car, perfect conditions, no rain. But you can manage. There's a couple of things you can do. So we come inside, and again, it's just, we have the leather seats, and these things are comfortable. Think of like Lazy Boy, but with big side bolsters to hold you in. So this can still hold you in. It's not just, you know, big like Lazy Boy that just kind of, you know, you just kind of sit in, but it's super comfortable. That's one of my favorite things about this. This is a really comfortable ride. And another favorite thing of mine is this thing has heated and cooled seats. Yes, so there are heated and cooled seats. And again, when we turn on the, when we do the remote start, it will fire up the car, warm up the inside, warm up your seat, as well as your steering wheel. So yeah, this has a steering wheel warmer, which is perfect for these conditions. But again, we have, you know, just very comfortable seats. You're able to, not too much adjustability like other cars, but you don't need it. It's sufficiently comfortable, and you can place it in a good position for it to be working for you. We come over to the steering wheel. It's a big leather wrapped steering wheel. It's actually really nice. I love the way you can handle this, and especially the way that I've been needing to handle this to make sure we don't get squirrely or sideways. So this has been, you know, obviously I love the way that this steering wheel feels, and it felt the same in the non-Hellcat one. A couple of things, again, my favorite FCA buttons in the back, letting you change the radio, change the volume without needing to really take your hands off the steering wheel or reposition. They're fairly comfortable right back here. We also have back here the paddle shifters. We'll get to that soon, but yeah, they're definitely nicely placed on here. It's a flat bottom, semi-flat bottom, because it's kind of still has a curve to it, but same thing goes for the sides. It's like a semi-flat sides. So that's a really nice touch to it. It gives you that extra sporty feel, which is, like I said, it's a nice touch to it. Believe it or not, if you're on a road trip, you're definitely going to want to use the race steering. Reason why you want to use the race steering is because the steering wheel gets super heavy. It gets super heavy, and when it's super heavy, you don't have to constantly be adjusting, make small adjustments for, you know, lanes obviously not being perfectly straight, but you're not adjusting too much, and it is going to take a little bit more effort if you do need to adjust. But overall, it was definitely a great feel when you have it in race. That's how I've had it 100% of the times. Actually, 99.9, because I did switch it while I was on the road trip to see what the difference is. Massive difference. I did not want to switch or be in anything but race. It just had a good feel to it. That was one of my favorite things with this. We come to the gauge clusters, and there is so much awesome going on. So this does have the SRT Red gauge cluster because we are using the red key. So you do get those on there, and the information that this thing provides you is insane. Right now we're keeping an eye on our tire temperatures because we've had one rear, I have the worst luck with tires, with tire pressures, but one rear is a little bit on the lower side, but it has been, you know, it's been fine. It's been fine, not an issue. Probably just low from, you know, normal use. But I have just all these different things. Let's kind of go through them. So we have tire pressure, we have coolant temperature, trans temp, oil pressure, oil life, battery voltage, intake air temp, engine torque, engine power, air fuel ratio, boost pressure, that's the one that'll get you into trouble, and intercooler coolant temperature. Oh, and tire pressure. So like I said, guys, there is a lot of feedback. Moving on to the infotainment system. This is the Uconnect system, and I'm a huge fan of Uconnect. Uconnect 4 is a great system. It's very easy to use. You're not going into too many menus to kind of get lost, and it's very simple. Think iPad on your screen, because it does have CarPlay, but it has that simplicity to it, and very easy labels that you can really understand. Like literally, if I go to apps, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, which I love. Now, I'm gonna go back to CarPlay. I love this thing. There's tons and tons of things you could look at here. We have our climate, which right now I should actually make it warmer because our windshield is freezing up a little bit. We have the controls for the seats. We have the steering wheel heater. We have the mirror dimmer, just everything. Passenger has their own side. CarPlay up here. We have, soon I'll show you the little fun page, so to speak. But we have a nice big screen, and this is connected to the Alpine speaker system. The system is just incredible. I mean, get this system. You don't even, I believe there's one more upgrade, but you don't even need it. It's just that damn good. But, you know, this being a future classic, sure, opt out for it if you're looking at it as an investment side of things. But it's definitely an awesome system. I love it. It's my favorite. Also, we have the carbon fiber trim surrounding this, so it's like a dry carbon. Beautiful. We have the SRT page. So the SRT is what we're not going to use today, unfortunately, because the conditions aren't ideal. We have your drive modes. You can really customize everything. You have power, transmission, paddle shifters, traction, suspension, and steering. I have this set to auto, but you can change your auto. So my auto right now is set to power. Yeah, I'm doing the whole 797 horsepower, but I'm being extremely careful on our trip just because I was concerned of traction. I did have it set to eco. We had it set to eco, and it was, so we have the option, I'll actually show you guys. We have the option of 797 horsepower or a detuned version of 500 horsepower. Yes, detuned version of 500 horsepower. But I was in eco mode, which it doesn't advertise here, but I believe it drops it down even more, which is what you really need in this car when you don't have ideal conditions. Right now, I'm at full power, but I am behaving very, you know, a lot. I'm behaving a lot. And we have your transmission, which again, I put it in street mode for this condition. So I'm just giving you guys an idea of what I normally do for this. So eco mode for power. Transmission, I have it to street. I don't need fast shifting because this thing in track mode is just, you know, gear after gear after gear. It will eat them up and it will hit them really hard. So I don't need second to third, you know, fishtailing, because it just hit that gear really hard. So I have it in street mode, which is good. And then I have the paddle shifters. I have them on. We'll get to that soon. Traction, I have it at street because obviously I want traction control to be at the highest. And the suspension, I did have it in track. I loved it more in track because of the bumps. On the highway, it was just absorbing them significantly better when it was on track. So street was maybe not the most ideal at a higher speed, but track for some reason just really grabbed them, and I can see my wife was a little more thankful that I did switch it over to track. So that was nice. But right now we have it in street because it's too bumpy on slower speeds, and any little bump, I don't want the rear to get unsettled. And steering, again, like I mentioned, track is my favorite setting for that. So we have that. And then when we come back to the SRT page, yeah, but it's got a lot of things. It's got your timers, it has gauges, so you can actually put up these gauges that you have in the gauge cluster. You can put them up as a page and change them. So if it's something that you want to have an eye on, it definitely does the work. And then the G-forces, again, we're not breaking records today. We don't want to do anything silly. And then engine. So if you're focused more on the engine side of things, it definitely helps out with seeing it here, making sure all your temperatures are nice and cool, which today they definitely are. Okay, things are getting pretty icy out here, so we're gonna do the driving really quick. So again, we have just a ton of things here on your, on the Uconnect 4. Tons of great info, especially if you're deciding to use this as a performance car, on the track, whether it's straight line, where this thing dominates. This thing is incredible in the straight line speeds, or if you want to take a chance and take this big guy out on the track itself. So we have that information there, which is always a good thing. You always want to have that. There's no need for you to go aftermarket. Then we come down to your shifter, and it's good. I mean, it does the job. You go, obviously it's a very small shifter. It's nice. You do have the option of going into the manual mode on here and going up and down on the gears, but I prefer the paddles because, again, I kept my hand for the situations that I was in where I needed to shift myself. The pedals, keeping my hand on the steering wheel was a priority, and I needed to change the gears myself. So definitely having these guys there was the ideal thing to do. Coming back a little bit more, probably one of my favorite things, a very smart thing to do in this car. And so we have our cup holders. They are not that big. They can hold they're very close. So just be aware that you can't get Texas-sized cups in this because they will hit at the top. But my favorite thing about it is in the middle, there's a slit. There's a slit that's an opening for your phone. So that's where I have my phone actually placed. It's a nice little area. It's a nice little area because it allows me to, connect in the glove box, because that's where this is. The USB connection is in the glove box, and I have it in there, and the cable runs out, but I have it set in that little slit. It works, and it makes things a lot easier to deal with. I don't have to, have it flying out anywhere. So definitely a nice little touch, and definitely needed for, when you're wanting to have your CarPlay running and you want to tuck away your phone and it not be a safety issue of something flying around when you accelerate or hit the brakes. So that's good. Now we get to the back, and there is a ton of space in this. My kids' seat, as you can see, this is a family car. This is a race family car, and it fits. His child seat had no issues getting it in. It was definitely easy to use, easy to get in, easy to set up, tons of space. We go to the trunk area, and this thing is massive. This thing is massive. No issues with grocery shopping if you need to make this your grocery getter. There is a ton of space back there. So it's definitely an awesome trunk where, again, you could just store everything. Now, let's talk performance. But let's talk very slow performance. It is fast. It is extremely fast. But when you're dealing with really harsh conditions, it can be a little tough to manage. It can definitely be a little tough to manage, but when I encountered some really bad rain, what I had to do was go into eco mode. This thing will definitely tune it down significantly. When I was dealing with the rain that was pretty bad, yeah, I definitely had to switch over to eco mode so that it could detune it and it behaves on the shifts. Now the shifts were a little bit different though. So I did have to switch over to manual mode, and I was doing the gear shifts myself, and that was perfect. That's exactly what I needed to have, you know, to be able to switch the gears and have more control. Manual transmission, yeah, that probably would have been the ideal thing to have for this, because again, you can control the gears, and you know, if you're in 6th gear and you just want to, actually this thing has 8 gears, so if you want to be in 8th gear and accelerate, it didn't drop it down, and you just wanted just a little boost, but not, you know, break your neck or end up on, you know, somewhere else that you don't want it to go. So yeah, so definitely where, you know, where you want to do it, and keep it in eco and manual mode for the transmission. Again, this thing is a beast. I was terrified. I was terrified of when I had it. Even, I mean, the 392, you can really, the V8 Hemi, non-supercharged, you can really get it sideways when you just floor it. And even with the 11-inch rears, actually 11-inch all around, it's hard to get the power down. It's really hard to get the power down. So I can see why, you know, when this gets compared with other cars of like, oh, this, you know, this beat the Hellcat. Yeah, because I think Dodge needs to work a little bit better on getting the power down to be able to, you know, to get the power down and, you know, just move it forward instead of having it, you know, just stay in place really. But yeah, that was the big thing with this, is making sure that you get the power down. And you know, you have launch control, you can set your RPMs, so it's just a matter of playing with that to get the ideal thing. You know, traction controls, I want to keep it at street, because even at street it was getting defeated. It was getting defeated. The Hellcat was wanting to get loose. So definitely, you know, just make sure you can handle it. I have a place in my apartment parking lot where I test to kind of see the turning radiuses of cars. This did not pass it. I did have to do a couple of turns, you know, back and forth to get this turned around. So just be aware of that. And the fact that this thing is so wide, it's so wide, be ready to find, I would say, pickup truck spots. It's not going to fit in a compact spot. So definitely you want to keep it in, you want to find that big wide spot to be able to get it parked. And yeah, I mean, she's got big hips. so just be aware again of curbs is the other thing. Curbs are definitely, especially with these big wheels, they are not cheap. So the other Charger I had, one of the tires and wheels were really rashed. Actually, a piece of it was missing out of the wheel. I priced it and it wasn't cheap. It was, I believe, I may be wrong, but a factory wheel and that tire was looking at about $3,000. So they are, for one, so it can be expensive. Just be aware of that, and yeah, get ready. But yeah, guys, overall, this thing is incredible. I mean, I wish I had better conditions for this, but unfortunately don't. But I can tell you, as far as from the very little I've had it in decent condition, it's been scary, to say the least. It's been scary. So definitely, if you guys decide to get this, just behave. And I did behave, because when we went on our road trip, obviously, this thing is gonna attract a lot of attention. I was on the highway and a Mustang pulls up next to me, probably front fender, and all of a sudden I see the window roll down, and I have an iPhone sticking out, getting ready to record, and I see the hands counting down. No. So I had to behave. Trust me, I had to behave. But obviously, because this thing is just way too much. But I had no need though. It was a base Mustang. Actually no, it wasn't a base. It looked like a V6 Mustang. But again, there was no way it was gonna beat me unless it had some insane thing done to it. But it was not gonna be 790, God knows how much horsepower, 97 I think it is, yeah, horsepower, let's see, right? Yeah, 797 horsepower. They were not going to beat it. So there was no need for me to really even entertain the idea. But yeah, well guys, I hope you've enjoyed my review. Again, I wish I had better conditions to show this to you, but unfortunately it's just not safe. Oh, the brakes on this, one more thing, spectacular. Definitely this thing, it's a big guy, but you could really get it stopped. Spectacular, gets the job done. You know, those big brakes are unbelievable. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed my review, and remember, find the right gear. See ya.